Hi Travel Bugs! Today we are visiting the Mason Dixon Historical Park in West Virginia. This park is 295 acres and it commemorates the last marker of the Mason Dixon Line. And the Mason Dixon Line was surveyed by Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon, who were English astronomers that were hired to determine the boundaries between the land belonging to the Penns, who had Pennsylvania, and the land belonging to the Calverts, who had Maryland. So this park has the last marker of the Mason-Dixon line. There aren't any markers further west than this one. So the Mason Dixon Historical Park was established here in the 1970s, and today you can come and hike a variety of trails. They have a visitor center, a gift shop, they have playgrounds where children can play, they have an amphitheater where they sometimes do events. There's also cabins here that you can rent if you want to spend a little bit more time here at the park. So we are hiking along the Mason-Dixon marker line trail here at the Mason Dixon Historical Park, and we're looking for our first geocache of the day. First cache of the day has been found. It was this cute little lock and lock container. It has some Hulk stickers. One of these, what do they call these? Finger traps or something? Finger trap things. Mardi Gras beads. And a nice little logbook. So 1 of 3 for the day. The area that we're at now is called Browns Hill, and Browns Hill is actually a National Historic Landmark because of its connection to the Mason-Dixon Line. And again, this was where the furthest west marker of the Mason-Dixon Line was placed. So Mason and Dixon started surveying in 1763 to help determine more of the borders of the colonies, and they arrived here in October of 1767. And it was here, at this spot, that they made their last calculations using the stars astronomically. So Mason and Dixon stayed here for about 7 days, observing the stars and figuring out their calculations. And this spot here is about 200 feet south of where they actually placed their marker, and that's where we're going to head next. So we've now come to the last marker of the Mason-Dixon line. By the time Mason and Dixon arrived here, they had traveled 233 miles, surveying the borders of Delaware, Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. This is one of the longest and most accurately surveyed lines up to this point. Now Mason and Dixon did mark this spot by sort of building up a little mound, but that mound was later replaced by this stone marker. So the stone marker isn't original, but it does mark the original spot. If you look closely at this marker, there's a WV on this side and then a P on this side, designating that here we are in Pennsylvania, and if we cross over, we are now in West Virginia. Today we are in West Virginia, but at their time in the 1760s, this was part of Virginia. West Virginia was established in the 1860s during the Civil War, and the Mason-Dixon line was used as sort of a demarcation line between the northern states that didn't have slavery and the southern states that did permit slavery. We came up upon another cache here. So we've now made it to the Adirondack Shelter. This is a building that was constructed in 1982 by the Boy Scouts and has been used by them ever since. And this area was also used for oil and gas drilling, and we can see some of the remnants around as well. Opposite side of rock pile from the shelter. So we found our next geocache on our hike today. Let's see what kind of goodies we have inside. We have a C3PO Pez container. So one of the things with geocaching is if you ever see the phrase CITO, it stands for cache in, trash out. So in some caches, people will leave like little trash bags, and that's kind of what we got here. So if you see any litter on your geocaching adventures. Save Mother Nature and cash in, trash out. So we're now walking down the other side of the Mason Dixon marker trail, and this area of the trail is really nice because you get a nice view of the gorge down below on your one side. We've seen a lot of cool plants, we've seen some mushrooms, we can hear the birds singing, we hear a chipmunk chirping in the background. It's just been a really great hike so far. We found our next geocache. This one looks like it might have been placed by the Mason Dixon Historical Park. Oh, that's a really nice one. Oh, very nice. Nice and secure. We've got our log book, a little puzzle game, some little stickers, all kinds of good stuff in here. So when we think of measuring units of length, we think of a yard or a meter, but surveyors like Mason and Dixon, they used two different kinds of units of measurement to measure the land that they were surveying. They used either a rod or a chain to designate the length that they were measuring. So if you look here, we see that this bricked in area is blocked off, and this would be considered a rod. And then this furthest stone here where that little sign was, and then the stone between the two benches is what would be considered a chain. So they used both of these units of measurements as they were measuring the Mason Dixon line, and that's evident through their journal entries that they kept throughout the whole project. So here's another example of being in two different states within like a couple seconds of each other. So Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We're now walking on the Bluebell Trail, which is a newer trail that was created by an Eagle Scout several years ago. And we've been seeing a lot of wildlife on our walk today, seeing a lot of different kinds of creatures, and it seems like we've also come across some magical creatures as well. What makes this trail unique is that it's also a trail with fairy doors. So there's all these different little, very creative places where you can see fairy doors and little mystical, magical creatures that are sort of hidden amongst the trees. So if you come and walk on this trail, keep your eye out and you might see some magical creatures too. So cute. It looks like a little like fishing bait shop, and then like with the blue stones it looks like there's like a little pond or a lake or something. It's so cute. These ones are cute. They're made of tree stumps. So we had a great time today exploring Mason Dixon Historical Park, learning more about the history of the Mason Dixon Line and enjoying hiking in the woods.
Well, thank you for watching today's video. We really appreciate if you guys would give us a like and subscribe. It really supports our channel. And don't forget to check out our blog, everywhereforward.com, and give us a follow on Instagram at everywhere_forward. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.